Cold metal walls of the auction hall vibrated with the sound of alien voices. Rows of cages stretched across the floor, filled with terrified beings from 100 worlds. Some cried. Some stared blankly. And in the last cage near the corner sat a young human, Eli. He was dirty, thin, and shaking. His hands were tied with glowing restraints, his eyes dull with exhaustion. He didn't remember how long it had been since Earth. Days, months, maybe years. All he remembered was fire and soldiers, and then darkness. The aliens called humans soft meat. To them, humans weren't warriors, scientists, or explorers. They were just flesh, sold and consumed by rich creatures who enjoyed exotic meals. And tonight, Eli was next on the list. A loud, deep voice echoed through the hall. Next item, human male, age 22, rare. Clean blood, fresh, starting bid, 5,000 credits. A crowd of tall reptilian aliens leaned forward, their tongues flicking in hunger. A few insectoid beings chittered excitedly. The air smelled of oil and blood. Eli felt his heart race. He pulled at his restraints, but they burned his skin with every move. He wanted to scream, but he had learned silence was safer. Then something unexpected happened. From the shadows of the upper floor, a cloaked figure spoke softly. "I'll take him." The voice was calm but cold. Female yet not human. The crowd went silent. Every eye turned toward the speaker. She lowered her hood, revealing pale blue skin and bright silver eyes. Her face was alien yet strangely human, too perfect, too symmetrical. She wore a uniform marked with strange symbols, ones Eli didn't recognize. The auctioneer hesitated. "Commander Vara, you want the human?" "There," I said, "I'll take him." Her tone cut through the air like a blade. Without another word, she tossed a black credit chip on the table. The screen blinked. "Paid 30,000 credits, 30,000 for a human," the crowd murmured. That was 10 times the normal price. The auctioneer bowed quickly. "As you wish, Commander. The human is yours." Minutes later, Eli found himself inside a dark transport pod. His wrists were still bound, but at least the crowd was gone. Vara sat across from him, her glowing eyes unreadable. He stared at her, unsure if she planned to eat him or dissect him. His voice cracked. "What do you want from me?" She didn't answer at first. She just stared at him, then finally said, "I want silence. You'll need it if you want to survive." He frowned. "Survive what?" "The station. The ones who think I bought you for food. They must keep thinking that." Eli's breath caught. You're not going to eat you." She tilted her head. "No, I don't eat humans." "Then why?" "Because you were screaming." Her voice softened, almost human now. And I was tired of pretending I couldn't hear it. He didn't know how to respond. She turned away, tapping on a control pad as the pod entered the hangar bay of a massive warship. The ship's interior was beautiful and terrifying, metal and glass. Glowing corridors, alien symbols everywhere. Guards with plasma rifles watched him closely as Vara walked ahead, her cloak flowing behind her like liquid shadow. "Commander," one of the guards said, "the human, shall we prepare it for consumption?" Eli froze. His heart pounded. Vara didn't stop walking. "No, he's mine. I'll deal with him myself," the guard nodded, though confusion filled his reptilian eyes. Eli followed, silent and trembling. She led him into a private chamber. A small room, dim lights, a metal bed, a sink, a mirror. It looked like a cell, but cleaner. "Stay here," Vara said. "Don't make noise. Don't speak to anyone. If they find you, I can't help you." He looked at her, unsure if he should thank her or fear her. "Why are you doing this?" She paused at the door, her back turned to him. Finally, she whispered, "Because no one should be sold for meat." Hours passed. Eli sat in silence, staring at the door. He didn't sleep. His mind was full of questions. Who was she? Why risk her life for him? And what would happen when someone found out? Then, just as his eyes started to close, the door opened again. Vara stepped inside, looking different. Her face was pale, her hands trembling. "Commander," he whispered. She didn't answer. She closed the door behind her, locked it, and leaned against the wall. For a moment, she looked like she was fighting tears. Then she said the words that burned into his soul forever. "Sold for meat, human." She took a shaky breath. "Hold me, use me. Just get me out of here," she whispered. Eli's world spun. He didn't understand, but he knew one thing. She wasn't just saving him. She was running too. The silence inside the small chamber was heavy. Eli stared at Commander Vara, his heart thundering in confusion. Her silver eyes, once sharp and cold, now trembled with something human. Fear, pain, he couldn't tell. Her whisper still echoed in his ears. "Hold me. Use me, just get me out of here." He didn't move. Didn't breathe. Vara sank to her knees beside the wall, her head bowed. "You don't understand," she said softly. "They think I belong to them. But I'm no freer than you." Eli swallowed hard. "You're their commander." "I was," she said bitterly, "until I stopped believing in what they do." Her fingers brushed the glowing mark on her wrist. A symbol burned into her skin. "This mark means I serve the Empire. But it also means they own me, just like they owned you." Eli stepped closer. He could see faint scars along her arms, not from battle but from restraint. "You saved me," he said quietly. "But now you're in danger because of me." Vara gave a weak smile. "You're wrong, human. You didn't put me in danger. You gave me a reason to care again." Her words hit him like a shockwave. He looked into her eyes and saw something he hadn't seen since Earth fell. Hope. A sudden loud alarm cut through the silence. Red lights flashed along the ceiling. Vara stood instantly, her soldier's reflexes returning. "They know," she said. "Someone checked the auction logs. They know I overpaid for a human." The door rattled with the sound of fists pounding on metal. "Commander Vara, open this door. We need to verify the purchase." Eli's pulse raced. What do we do? Vara's mind spun. She grabbed a small black device from her belt and pressed it against the door. A faint hiss, the lock melted shut. "They'll break it open soon," she said. "We need to move." She tossed him a gray jacket. "Put this on. Keep your head down." Eli obeyed, slipping into the oversized alien uniform. The fabric shimmered, changing color slightly, almost like camouflage. Vara led him through a hidden panel behind the wall. A narrow tunnel stretched out, glowing faintly with blue lights. "This ship is ancient," she whispered as they moved. "Built before the Empire. There are old passageways. Forgotten ones." Eli followed, his breath echoing softly. The air smelled of ozone and dust. Far above, the alarms kept ringing. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To the hangar bay," she said. "If we can reach the lower decks, I might get you out." "Us, you mean?" She looked back at him, a flash of surprise in her eyes, then nodded. "Yes, us." They moved fast. Voices shouted from above. Boots clanged on the metal floors. The Empire's soldiers were everywhere. They stopped near a grated floor panel. Through it, Eli could see a wide hangar filled with ships, dozens of alien fighters, cargo pods, and drones. 2 guards stood near the exit gate, armed and scanning the area. Vara took a deep breath. "Stay behind me," she whispered. Before he could reply, she jumped down. Her movements were fast, almost invisible. In a blur of light, she was behind the first guard, her blade flashing once. The second turned, shouting, but a plasma shot silenced him before he could fire. Eli stared from above, frozen. She wasn't just a commander. She was a predator. Silent, efficient, deadly. She looked up at him. "Now!" He jumped down, almost tripping. The sound echoed, but the hangar was empty now, except for the bodies. They ran to a small, older shuttle, half broken, half buried in dust. Vara entered the access code, her hands shaking. It's an old survey ship, small enough to slip through patrol nets. The engines hummed weakly, blue light flickering under the hull. Eli climbed inside and strapped in beside her. "Vara," he said, "you're risking everything." Why, her fingers froze on the controls. "Because once," she said softly, "I was like you, a prisoner. A scientist from my world forced into their military. When I disobeyed, they took everything. My team, my family, my home." She looked at him, eyes burning with memory. "They called it cleansing the weak. I called it murder." The ship shuddered as it powered up. Alarms blared across the hangar again. "Unauthorized launch detected," Vara hissed. "Hold tight." The shuttle lifted, engines screaming. Plasma bolts fired from above, red trails cutting through the air. One struck the hull, shaking the ship violently. Eli gripped the seat. "We're hit!" "I know," Vara shouted, pulling the lever. "Not dead yet." The ship shot forward, smashing through the hangar shield. For a moment, space exploded into light, stars, planets, and the endless dark void stretched before them. Then silence. They were free. Eli sat shaking, his heart pounding so hard he could barely breathe. Vara's hands trembled as she guided the shuttle into deep space. Finally, she whispered almost to herself, "They'll hunt us. But at least now, we choose where we die." Eli turned to her. "No," he said quietly. "We choose how we live." She looked at him, truly looked at him, and for the first time since she'd bought him, she smiled. A real smile. Outside the window, a red giant star glowed in the distance, and beyond it the unknown waited. The stars drifted slowly past the small shuttle, their light fading into the black sea of space. Inside, the air smelled of burnt metal and fear. The hull groaned with every vibration. The escape had worked, but barely. Eli sat near the viewport, his hands still shaking. His mind replayed the explosion, the blinding lights, the screams behind them. He looked at Commander Vara. She was slumped over the console, her blue skin dim under the flickering lights. Smoke rose from the control board. "Engine 3's dead," she said quietly. "We can still move, but not far." Eli tried to keep calm. "Can they track us?" Vara nodded slowly. "They will. The Empire never lets anyone go." Her voice was calm, but behind it Eli could hear the same fear that burned in him. For a long time, neither spoke. The silence between them was heavy, but not empty. Eli finally said, "You saved me. Twice, but why?" "You could have let them take me." Vara didn't look at him. "I told you, I once believed in them. I built weapons, commanded fleets. I helped enslave species like yours. But then I saw what we'd become. What I'd become." Her eyes flickered with guilt. "The Empire doesn't need soldiers anymore. It needs monsters. And I was one." Eli wanted to say something, anything, but words felt useless in front of her pain. After a moment, he said softly, "You're not a monster, Vara. You stopped them." She smiled faintly. "For now." The shuttle jolted. A loud beep echoed. Vara's eyes widened. "They've found our trail." On the radar, 3 red dots appeared, closing fast. "Empire scouts," she said. "Small but deadly." Eli looked around. "Can we hide?" "Not in open space." Her hands flew across the controls. "But maybe." "There." She pointed at a giant shape on the screen, a floating ring of metal debris orbiting a dying moon. It looked ancient, broken, but massive. "What is that?" Eli asked. Vara's eyes narrowed. "An old human colony. From before your fall." Eli's heart skipped. "Earth's colony? That's impossible." "Not impossible," she said. "Forgotten." The shuttle dove toward the wreck. The debris field swallowed them in seconds. Twisted satellites, broken ships, rusted towers spinning in slow motion. Blasts from behind lit the shadows, plasma bolts slicing through space. Vara dodged, weaving through wreckage with impossible precision. A shot grazed their wing, shaking the craft violently. "Hold on!" she shouted. The shuttle scraped against a derelict hull and spun, before finally crashing into a hollow section of an old ship. The noise stopped. Silence again. When Eli opened his eyes, everything hurt. The lights were dim, but the ship was still intact. "Vara?" he whispered. "I'm here," she answered weakly from the floor. Her leg was bleeding blue fluid. The glow from her eyes flickered faintly. He crawled to her. "You're hurt." "It's fine," she winced. "Get the med kit from the wall." He found it and did his best to patch the wound. Her skin was colder than before. She looked at him with a strange softness. "You learn fast, human." "Eli," he corrected gently. "My name's Eli," she smiled faintly. "Eli," she repeated. "Good name." Outside, the scanners showed the enemy ships circling. "They're searching," Vara said. "But this wreck blocks our signal for now." Eli peered through a cracked viewport. "So this was a human colony?" "Yes," Vara said. "Before the Empire spread this far, humans tried to settle beyond their system. But when your species fell, they were abandoned, forgotten in the dark." He touched the window, staring at the ghostly ruins. "So they were here, alive once." Vara looked away. "They're all gone now." The Empire made sure of that. A faint sound echoed through the ship, a clicking noise, then another. Eli froze. What was that? Vara pulled out her blaster. "We're not alone." A shadow moved behind the shattered walls. Then another. Shapes, dozens of them. From the darkness, figures emerged. Thin, gray-skinned, humanoid, but twisted. Their eyes glowed faint yellow. "Scavengers," Vara whispered. Descendants of the forgotten humans. Eli stared in horror. Humans? Once, she said. Now, survivors, the scavengers hissed, surrounding the shuttle. One stepped forward, sniffing the air, then looked directly at Eli. Meat, it rasped. Vara fired a warning shot into the ceiling. The scavengers jumped back, screeching. Stay behind me, she said. They're not intelligent anymore. Just hungry. The scavengers attacked. Vara fired rapidly, but there were too many. Eli grabbed a metal rod from the floor, swinging wildly. A creature lunged at him. He struck its face, sending it crashing into the wall. Vara shot another two, but one jumped onto her back, claws tearing into her shoulder. She screamed, blasting it off. Finally, silence fell again. Bodies lay scattered around the wreck. Eli dropped the rod, shaking. They were people. Vara looked at him, blood dripping from her wounds. That's what happens when the Empire forgets you. They both stood quietly, surrounded by death and the ghosts of the past. Vara sat against the wall, breathing heavily. The ship's broken. No long-range drive. Eli sat beside her. Then we fix it together. She looked at him, a tired smile forming. You still believe there's hope. He met her eyes. You saved me. Now it's my turn. For the first time, she didn't argue. She just closed her eyes, whispering, then maybe freedom still has a price worth paying. Outside, the stars flickered again, one by one, like old memories trying to find light in the dark. The wreck drifted through the black silence, turning slowly among the stars. Inside, only two heartbeats remained, the human Eli and the alien commander Vara. The air smelled of smoke and blood. Flickering blue lights danced across the cracked walls as Vara tried to restart the control panel. Her hands trembled from exhaustion and pain. Eli crouched beside her. Will it fly again? She shook her head. No jump drive. No fuel cells. We're trapped. Then more quietly. Unless this old ship still remembers how to dream. They searched the wreck. It was huge, an ancient colony vessel once meant for thousands. Now only silence filled its halls. Frozen corridors stretched endlessly, filled with broken glass and faded flags marked with an old symbol. A circle and 3 lines, the emblem of early human explorers. Eli brushed dust off one of the flags. This was ours, he whispered. Humans built this, Vara nodded. And then the Empire took it. They always do. They passed a door marked Cryo Bay Restricted. The panel flickered, weak but still alive. Vara frowned. After all these years, there's still power here. Eli placed his hand on the panel. Open it. The door hissed and cold air poured out. Rows of cryopods lined the walls, their glass frosted but intact. Inside each one lay a motionless body, humans, dear God. Eli's voice broke. They never woke up. Vara stepped closer, scanning the pods with a small device. They were meant to be reawakened when supplies arrived, but no one ever came. Eli stared at the sleeping faces. Some were young, some old, families, children, all trapped in an endless sleep. He clenched his fists. The Empire left them to die. Vara's eyes softened. Not just them. Many worlds met the same fate. Yours is only one story in a galaxy of silence. A faint noise echoed through the corridor, a metallic knock. Then another. Eli froze. Did you hear that? Vara drew her blaster. Stay behind me. The sound grew louder, coming from deeper inside the bay. A moment later, the shadows moved. Something crawled from behind the pods, tall, thin, and wearing a torn human suit. Its face was pale, stretched, almost human, but not quite. When it spoke, the voice was broken and hollow. Sayuti came back. Eli stepped back. You're alive? The creature tilted its head. Alive, remember, waited. Vara kept the blaster raised. Identify yourself. The creature blinked slowly. I was Dr. Lena Marek, chief scientist. We tried to send a signal. No one answered. So we changed. Her skin shimmered faintly as if it couldn't decide what form to hold. Eli whispered, horrified. Changed how? The being smiled sadly. To survive. We used the nanites. They kept us alive in the dark, but took everything else. Behind her, more shapes emerged, half human, half machine. Their eyes glowed softly, not with hunger this time, but with memory. We watched, Lena said, for centuries. The Empire fed on your worlds while we became its ghosts. Vara lowered her weapon slowly. You remember the Empire? Lena nodded. We remember everything, and we know what it fears. Vara's gaze sharpened. What does it fear? Lena turned toward the center of the bay. A large pod stood there, different from the rest, sealed by heavy locks and pulsing faint blue light. The key, she said. A weapon your empire tried to destroy. We kept it hidden. We waited for someone who was not one of them. Her glowing eyes turned to Eli. A human. Eli stared, confused. Me? Why me? Because, Lena whispered, you still believe in freedom. And the key answers only to those who believe. Vara stepped forward. If this key can fight the Empire, then we need it now. Lena hesitated. It comes with a price. Vara's voice was cold again. Everything does. The pod's locks released with a hiss. Inside was no weapon, just a sphere floating in liquid light. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Eli touched the glass. Immediately the sphere glowed brighter, and a stream of light wrapped around his hand. Images flashed in his mind, stars burning, worlds falling, armies of metal marching. Then a voice spoke inside his head. Human designation Eli, authorization granted. The key awakens, Vara stared. What's happening? Eli couldn't speak. The light surged through him, spreading like fire. The entire ship shook. The cryopods glowed as the forgotten humans within them flickered to life for the first time in centuries. Lena looked around in awe. It remembers us. But above them, in the darkness of space, 3 Empire ships locked onto their location. Sensors blared. Vara grabbed Eli by the shoulder. We have to move. Eli staggered, still glowing with light. I can see their systems, their weapons. I can shut them down. Vara's eyes widened. The key is in you? He nodded. I think so. Then use it, she said sharply. Make them fear what they created. Outside, the Empire ships approached, charging their cannons. Eli closed his eyes and focused. A burst of blue light spread from the wreck like a wave. Every enemy system flickered, then died. In seconds, the massive warships were motionless, drifting like dead metal. Vara watched in awe. You just stopped an armada. Eli breathed hard, his body shaking. It wasn't me. It was the key. Lena looked at him sadly. Then you must carry it now. Its power is your burden. Eli met her glow with steady eyes. Then I'll use it for them, all of them who were forgotten. The lights dimmed. Vara placed a hand on his shoulder. Human, she said softly. You may have just started a war. Eli looked out the window at the silent ships floating in the dark. No, he whispered. I just gave it a reason. Beyond the wreck, the key's light rose again, bright enough to paint the dead colony in silver. And for the first time in centuries, the forgotten had a voice again. The wreck no longer drifted silently. It pulsed with life. With energy. With something ancient and powerful awakening after centuries of sleep. The once dead human colony ship now glowed like a heartbeat in the void. Blue light streamed through its corridors, crawling over frozen walls, over shattered glass, over every cryopod. Eli stood at the center of it all, light swirling around his hands. The key, whatever it truly was, had bonded to him. He could feel its hum deep in his chest, as if another pulse beat beneath his skin. Commander Vara watched from a few steps away. Her face, once calm and unreadable, now held a mix of awe and fear. You're changing, she said quietly. Eli turned, his eyes glowing faintly blue. No, I'm remembering. They stood among the awakening pods. One by one, the long-sleeping colonists opened their eyes. Confused faces. Weak voices. Where are we? One woman asked, her breath fogging the cold air. Eli tried to smile. Home, or what's left of it. Vara knelt beside her, offering a ration pack. You've been asleep for centuries. You're safe now. But even as she said the words, she knew they were a lie. Outside, the Empire's shadow still moved through space, and they would come. Hours passed. The survivors gathered in the main hall, about 50 of them. Thin, pale, frightened, they whispered about the light, about the voice that had called them awake. Eli stood before them, uncertain. He had never led anyone. On Earth, he'd been a mechanic, fixing machines for scraps of food. But now, every eye looked to him for hope. Vara stepped beside him. They need to hear truth, she said. Not comfort, Eli nodded slowly. Then spoke. The Empire found your colony long ago, he said. They abandoned you here to die, but now, something inside this ship woke me. It showed me what they've done to thousands of worlds. And I won't let it continue. The room went silent. The old humans looked at each other. Then one young man asked softly, "What can we do against them?" Eli looked down at his glowing hand. "Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. But if this key chose me, maybe it's because it remembers who we were," Vara added. "And maybe it remembers what we can still become." That night, the wreck hummed with hidden power. Vara stood at a broken viewport, staring at the stars. The distant Empire ships were gone, for now. But she knew their silence wasn't mercy. It was strategy. Eli approached quietly. "You haven't slept," he said. She didn't look at him. "I used to command ships like those," she whispered. "Whole fleets. My orders burned cities, erased species. The Empire gave me everything, and took my soul." Eli stepped closer. "Then take it back." She turned, meeting his gaze. "You think redemption is that simple?" He smiled faintly. "Nothing's simple anymore." A sudden vibration shook the hull. Lights flickered. A deep hum filled the air. Eli's head snapped up. "The key! It's doing something." Panels along the corridor lit up, forming patterns of human code mixed with alien symbols. A hologram flickered into existence. A woman, her face shimmering like mist. "Identity confirmed," the hologram said. "Human command node active. Colony vessel Genesis Ark reactivated." Eli blinked. "Genesis Ark? That's the name of this ship?" "Yes," the hologram said. "Mission objective, preserve humanity. Restore resistance network." Vara's eyes widened. "Resistance?" The hologram turned toward her. "Commander Vara Tireth, former Empire officer. Status, traitor. Clearance revoked." Vara froze. "How does it—" Eli interrupted. "It's reading everything, the ship, us, maybe even our DNA." The hologram's tone softened. "Human Eli, the key links with your neural pattern. You are now the signal. Through you, we can reach others still hidden." "Others?" Eli asked. "Echoes," it replied. "Fragments of rebellion scattered across the stars." Vara took a step closer. "You're saying there are more?" The hologram nodded. "Thousands, silenced, waiting. We can awaken them, but at a cost." Eli frowned. "What cost?" "Take exposure," it said simply. "Once the signal is sent, the Empire will know. They will come for you." Eli looked at Vara. She met his gaze and nodded slowly. "Let them come," he said. "If the galaxy has forgotten what it means to be human, it's time to remind them." The key's light spread again, this time brighter, stronger, reaching beyond the wreck. A pulse of pure energy raced through the void, faster than any transmission. On distant worlds, hidden bunkers flickered to life. Ancient machines stirred. Forgotten species looked up at the stars as the signal touched them. Across the Empire's territory, whispers began to rise. "They're awake. The humans are awake." Far away, inside the Imperial Citadel, a tall alien general watched his monitors flash red. "Unauthorized energy surge detected," the system reported. The general turned slowly. "Origin?" "Outer Fringe. Sector 29. A dead human colony." The general's scaled lips curled into a smile. "Prepare the hunters. If the humans wish to rise again, we'll remind them why they fell." Back aboard the Genesis Ark, Eli collapsed to his knees. The glow faded from his skin, leaving him trembling and pale. Vara caught him before he hit the ground. "Easy, you did it." He looked at her weakly. "Did what?" She smiled faintly. "You lit a fire." Outside, the stars shimmered with ripples of blue light spreading farther and farther. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy stirred. And somewhere deep in the dark, freedom began to whisper again. The silence of deep space never lasted long. Not when the Empire was listening. 3 days after Eli's signal pulsed across the stars, the galaxy began to stir. Old codes reactivated. Hidden bunkers opened. Fragments of forgotten resistance whispered back, "We hear you, but the Empire heard too," and they were coming. Vara stood at the command deck of the Genesis Ark, staring at the holographic map. Red dots multiplied across the screen, enemy ships converging from every direction. "Scouts, destroyers, interceptors," she muttered. "They're deploying hunters." Eli looked up. "Hunters." Her jaw tightened. "Assassins. They track by thought patterns, heat signatures, even heartbeat rhythm. They don't take prisoners." The glow in Eli's hands flickered faintly. "Then we move before they find us." Vara shook her head. It's too late. They already have. Far beyond the ark, black shapes cut through the void, sleek ships built for one purpose, extermination. Inside their lead vessel stood Lord Kethar, High Hunter of the Empire. His armor shimmered like liquid metal, his eyes burning crimson. Around him, lesser hunters bowed in silence. Kethar turned to the hologram of his emperor. The signal originated from the human relic, Genesis Ark. The emperor's cold voice echoed. You will erase it. Leave no trace. The key must not rise again, Kethar bowed. It will be done. Back on the ark, the survivors worked frantically. Old human machines whirred to life. Power conduits rerouted through ancient systems. Vara barked orders like the commander she once was. Seal Bulkhead C, arm the defense turrets. Eli, we need shields online now. I'm trying, he said, hands on the glowing interface. The key's energy responded to his thoughts, but every pulse drained him. His skin shimmered with light, his eyes flickering like twin stars. Vara glanced at him. Careful. That power's eating you alive, he smiled weakly. Guess freedom comes with a cost. The first impact shook the entire ship. A massive blast tore through the outer hull, sending debris spinning into space. The alarms wailed. Shields at 40%. Someone shouted. Vara steadied herself. Return fire. The ark's ancient cannons roared, launching bursts of plasma. One hunter ship exploded, a flash of orange against the black sky. But 5 more replaced it instantly. Through the chaos, Eli felt something. A presence. Cold. Watching. A voice whispered in his mind, sharp as a blade. You are not worthy of the key, he gasped, grabbing his head. Vara, someone's in my mind. From the darkness outside, Lord Kethar's ship descended like a beast of metal wings. He stepped through the flames of the hangar deck, his armor alive with shadows. Human, he said, his voice echoing through Eli's thoughts. You play with power older than your kind. Give me the key and I'll end your suffering quickly. Eli's voice trembled but held firm. I'd rather burn with it than give it to you. Kethar smiled, a cold, cruel thing. Then burn you shall. He moved faster than light. One moment he stood at the doorway, the next he was upon them. Vara fired. Her plasma shot hit his chest, but it only made him laugh. Kethar swung his blade. She barely dodged, sparks flying as the metal sliced the console beside her. Eli raised his hands, light bursting outward in a shockwave that threw Kethar back several meters. The room shook. Energy cracked the air. Kethar rose, his armor scorched but intact. Impressive, he hissed. The key chose you, but it will betray you. It always does. Vara pulled Eli behind a fallen beam. You can't win against him head-on. I have to try. She gripped his arm hard. Listen to me. The key isn't just power, it's knowledge. It connects to the ship, to every human code ever written. Use it to outthink him, not fight him. Eli closed his eyes, breathing deeply. The key pulsed again. Not as a weapon this time, but as a voice. Thousands of faint whispers filled his mind. Ancient engineers, soldiers, scientists, humanity's ghosts. We built this ship to live, not die. When he opened his eyes again, he smiled. I know what to do. Kethar advanced slowly, his weapon raised. Eli pressed his glowing hands to the floor. Activate Protocol 0. The ark's core flared to life. Circuits that had slept for centuries roared awake. The entire ship trembled as light filled every hallway. Vara shouted, What did you do? Eli looked at her. I made it remember what it was meant to be. The ark transformed. Panels shifted. Engines realigned. The wreck became something alive again, a warship reborn. Kethar's eyes widened. Impossible. Eli stood tall, light pouring from his veins. You wanted the key? Come take it. He lifted his hand and the ship obeyed. A pulse of raw energy exploded outward, engulfing Kethar and his hunters. Their ships flickered, twisted, and then silence. When the light faded, only drifting fragments remained. Vara stood in stunned silence. Eli fell to his knees, smoke rising from his skin. The glow dimmed, leaving him pale and trembling. She caught him before he fell completely. Eli, stay with me. He smiled faintly. We're still alive. That's something. She looked at the burning wrecks outside. You didn't just survive, human. You just declared war. Far away, deep within the Imperial Citadel, the Emperor rose from his throne as alarms blared. A single phrase flashed across every Imperial screen. The humans have returned. The Emperor's eyes burned red. Then let them come, he said. We'll show them what extinction truly means. The stars burned brighter than ever. Or maybe the galaxy had simply begun to notice them again. The Genesis Ark floated in the Black Sea, reborn from ruin, once a forgotten relic, now a symbol, a spark that refused to die. But inside its heart, Eli lay silent. His body was pale, faintly glowing under the medical lights. Every pulse of the ship seemed to echo through him, as if the key and his soul had fused completely. Vara stood beside the pod, her hands trembling. He saved us, she whispered. And now he's slipping away. The medbot's voice was calm but cold. Vital systems unstable. Neural fusion with foreign intelligence, irreversible without separation. Vara frowned. Separation would kill him. Yes, it replied. But if not done, he will cease to be human. Eli's eyes flickered open, glowing like twin stars. His voice was soft, distant. I can hear them, Vara, all of them. Every voice the Empire silenced. Vara leaned closer. Eli, stay with me. Don't let it take you. He smiled faintly. I'm not losing myself. I'm finding what we lost. Then his voice shifted. Two tones layered, one human, one something older. The key doesn't just remember. It awakens. Across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Old satellites powered up after centuries of silence. Rusted ships ignited their engines. Underground vaults opened on distant moons. On mining colonies, enslaved species looked up as a human signal whispered across the stars. Rise, you are not forgotten. And they did. Scattered worlds began to rebel. Small at first, workers sabotaging ships, slaves breaking chains. But soon entire fleets turned their guns on their masters. The Empire trembled. Inside the Ark, Vara paced the control deck. They're fighting everywhere, she said, reading the incoming transmissions. The signal reached the fringe worlds, the old sectors, even the outer ring. A human technician laughed weakly. We started a war, Commander. Vara's eyes hardened. No, he started a revolution. Her gaze turned to the medbay doors. She wanted to believe Eli could still hear her, but in the medbay, Eli was far from the physical world. He floated in a storm of light, a sea of memories not his own. Cities burning, worlds falling, children crying under alien suns. Then he saw something new, a massive structure, a fortress in deep space pulsing with red light. Inside it, the Emperor's true power slept, a machine built from stolen human tech and alien flesh. A voice echoed through the storm. He waits. He fears you. He will come. Eli reached out toward the vision. Then I'll come first. He woke with a gasp. Vara was there, gripping his hand. You're alive! Barely, he said, sitting up. But I know where he is. The Emperor. His fortress. It's not just command. It's the origin of the key. My power came from there. Vara's expression turned cold. Then it ends there too. Hours later, the Genesis Ark moved again, its new engines glowing bright. Behind it, smaller ships followed. Scavenger crafts, rebel freighters, stolen Empire cruisers. A new fleet, the Lost, had gathered. Humans, aliens, hybrids, all bound by one signal, one message, freedom. Eli stood on the bridge, dressed in an old Earth flight suit patched with alien armor. The key's glow still flickered in his veins, but his eyes were steady. Vara approached him. You sure about this? He nodded. If we run, the galaxy stays silent. If we fight, maybe it learns to sing again. She smirked. You talk too much for a mechanic. He grinned. You complain too much for a commander. Their eyes met for a moment that needed no words. Then Vara turned to the crew. All ships and form up. Today we face the hunters, tomorrow, the throne. As the fleet jumped into hyperspace, the Emperor's fortress loomed ahead, a colossal black ring around a dying star. Thousands of Empire warships waited like sharks around it. Eli stared at the view and whispered, So this is what fear looks like. Vara loaded her rifle. Then let's remind them what courage feels like. The first battle of the new rebellion began in fire. Explosions tore across the void. Plasma trails crossed the dark like streaks of light. The Ark led the charge, its cannons roaring like thunder. Eli closed his eyes and reached out with the key, connecting with the human-built systems buried inside the enemy fleet. One by one, Empire ships turned silent. Then their lights changed, blue instead of red. They had switched sides. Vera gasped. "You're turning their fleet?" Eli smiled weakly. "No, I'm waking them. They were ours once." The Emperor finally appeared on every hollow screen, a shadow wrapped in fire. "You think you've risen, human? You think you've undone what I built?" Eli faced the projection. "No," he said simply. "I'm finishing what you started. You made monsters to keep us afraid. I made memories to make us strong." The Emperor's eyes blazed. "Then die with them!" A beam of crimson energy shot from the fortress, striking the Ark. The hull screamed. Fire erupted across the decks. Vera ran to Eli. "The shields are gone!" Eli looked out at the stars one last time. "Then let's make this count." He reached for the console and unleashed the full power of the key. A blinding wave of blue light exploded outward, swallowing the Emperor's fortress and everything around it. For a heartbeat, the galaxy fell silent. Then the light faded. The fortress was gone. The Empire's fleet shattered, and the stars once cold burned warm again. On the ruined deck, Vera woke to silence. The key's glow was gone. She looked around, no sign of Eli. Only a small, metallic shard lying where he had stood, still pulsing faintly blue. She picked it up. Whispering through tears, "You kept your promise, human." Outside the window, thousands of ships lit their engines. The Lost were no longer hiding. They were rising, and across the galaxy, one message echoed again and again. "Humanity stands."